Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioner of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. I am Randy Guy, President of the Commissioner of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown and Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. John O'Connor.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. Dr. Rebecca Bridget, our County Administrator, is seated at the table to my left.
Good morning.
Lisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting at the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our Video Media Producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the presenter's table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised. If you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. Announcements. We have 2 meetings scheduled this evening in the meeting room. 5:30 p.m., we have a public hearing on the Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan Amendment for Property on Tap LLC. 6 p.m., we have our joint meeting with the St. Mary's County delegation to discuss 2022 legislative proposals. We hope you will join us either in person or by phone. At this time, please stand for our invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this fine day we have in front of us. Please bless our citizens and bless this Board of Commissioners that we make the right decisions to help the citizens of St. Mary's County live a good life in Southern Maryland. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. I need approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of September 28, 2021, as presented.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have numerous proclamations. The first one will be National 4-H Week. And I would like some of the following people to come forward if you're here. Ms. Wathen, Mr. Kershaw, Mrs. Kershaw, and Ms. Allred. All right. And some young 4-Hers. Okay.
With bow ties, too.
With bow ties on.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
Whereas the week of October 3rd through the 9th, 2021 marks the 79th annual 4-H Week celebration and provides an opportunity for all of us to join together and raise public awareness of this century-old institution serving the young people of our nation and our county. And whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country, thus far, 4-H helps approximately 450 youth in St. Mary's County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders by providing experiences where young people learn through hands-on projects and programs in health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in St. Mary's County, also work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 3rd through the 9th, 2020, National 4-H Week, and this year's theme, Find Your Spark, to encourage all citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact they have made and continue to make by empowering youth and the skills they need to lead life for a lifetime. Signed by the Commissioner of St. Mary's County. Mic up for anybody up there who wants to speak.
Thank you for having us today. I'd like to introduce Ms. Hannah Wathen. Would you like to say how many years you've been in 4-H in your club?
I've been in 4-H for 10 years, and I am in Tudor Hall.
Very, very good.
It's great.
And we also have Ms. Kathy Kershaw, who's a 4-H alum from St. Mary's County, as well as her sons. And I'll let them introduce themselves.
Can you say your name?
Go ahead. You can go ahead and say something.
His name is Leroy Kershaw, and this is Ernest Kershaw, and I'm Kathy Kershaw, all from Tudor Hall 4-H Club.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. They represent our oldest and our youngest members.
Oldest and youngest, very
And
good.
Kathy is also one of our organizational leaders for her club. So much deserved recognition to her for her many years of service.
Are there numerous clubs in St. Mary's County or just the one?
We have 9 clubs.
9 clubs total?
Yep, 9 community clubs. And you probably saw many of their projects and livestock this past
right,
weekend at the fair. Yep.
Yes, very
Yep,
much.
Weekend before last, yeah.
Very much so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, we just need everybody just stay in there and turn around. We'll get a photo up here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Commissioner O'Connor will be reading that.
Have the Miss Norma Pipkin, Taylor Spencer Davis, and Corporal O'Connor come forward. Thank you.
We know her?
I think I know that O'Connor.
know that face.
I don't know. Mask is hot doing everything. All right. Whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion, and whereas children who grew up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average, and whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to systemic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse, including abuse to spouses, children, and the elderly. And whereas a confidential, coordinated community response via the St. Mary's County Family Violence Coordinating Council, inclusive of such organizations such as Southern Maryland Family Advocacy Center, St. Mary's MedStar Hospital, St. Mary's County Department of Social Services, Three Oaks Center, the Commission for Women, and the Commission for Women is available to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, and sexual assault. Now, therefore, in recognition of the vital work being done by the St. Mary's County Commission for Women and the St. Mary's County Family Violence Coordinating Council, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and pledge to foster supportive communities that help survivors seek justice and enjoy full and healthy lives while raising public awareness about how to prevent, recognize, and stop domestic violence.
I'm sure
Good
Mr.
morning,
Pipkin-
Commissioners, and thank you for having us here this morning. As you stated, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So today is the day that the Commission for Women must come and talk about the ugly truths. The ugly truth is that 1 in 4 women are victims of domestic violence. The ugly truth is that it happens in all neighborhoods and across all social economic levels. The ugly truth is that it happens in many ways. It may start with frequent put-downs, withholding financial information or resources, constantly checking on the whereabouts of the person, or separation of family and friends. The ugly truth is it may be a threat, a push, or a slap. The ugly truth is that physical abuse is followed by an apology. The ugly truth is it will happen again. The ugly truth is that women are abused many times before they make the decision to leave. The ugly truth is that children that observe domestic violence suffer alongside their mother and suffer long-term consequences. The ugly truth is the most dangerous time for a woman is when she makes the final decision to leave the situation. The Commission for Women is committed to talking about the ugly truths. in hopes that our community will have a better understanding and develop more resources, and we'll have fewer ugly truths. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, Corporal O'Connor with the Sheriff's Office, domestic violence doesn't just affect women, it's across the board. Men and women both are victims of domestic violence, and the Sheriff's Office is working with the Family Advocacy Center to help out those victims, put them in an emergency shelter, get them protective orders, legal representation, and we're doing our part to try to get education out there.
Hi, Taylor Spencer Davis. This is really weird to speak with my back to you guys, so I apologize for that. I'm the Deputy Director of the Southern Maryland Center for Family Advocacy, and Liz or Corporal O'Connor and Norma both pointed out some of the ugly truths, but I'm going to end with some of the silver linings in our community. And I would like to say that in St. Mary's County, we've built up an amazing task force against domestic violence with the Sheriff's Department and Corporal O'Connor, and with the Commission for Women, with Norma, with the hospital, with the Department of Social Services. I cannot stress how thankful I am for that partnership and how much help we get, and how our communication always flows freely, and how each of us individually as an organization is dedicated to making sure we help in whatever way we can. I would also like to remind anybody out there listening who might be thinking they're in a toxic relationship or a situation that maybe isn't going so well. I would just like to remind them that all these services are still out here, pandemic or not. We never stopped helping. We never stopped providing services. And so I want everybody out in the community to know, if you need those services, we're here 24/7. And so with that being said, in order to support Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are having a survivor showcase, so a virtual, it's all on social media. We're looking for art that is made by survivors of domestic violence, and we want to showcase that and show it to the community. And then also be on the lookout for, in February, our Dating Violence Awareness event. But I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and thank all my colleagues, because they are truly a team of superstars. Thanks, guys.
Ms. Spencer Davis, do you all have some kind of a hotline that people can call in on at any
We
time?
do, yes. So general
that?
calls come into 301 373-4141, sorry, drew a blank. And then our hotline usually filters through DSS or the Sheriff's Department, but that's a 24/7 line specifically for people in imminent danger of domestic violence and sexual assault. That number is 240-925-0084.
Two things that were not mentioned in this, and one, I want to thank you. I've worked with you before, and it is relentless on and can be tiring on everything that you deal with. And the after-hours calls, unfortunately, I get to see the other side of the work that goes through. So we'll make sure that the Sheriff's Office gets added into the proclamation because of the partnership that you have, and also what you do with the schools, because that isn't mentioned. The schools are huge with getting in early about the dating violence that comes with it. And I know, Ms. Pipkin, you're very involved with that. So thank you very much for that.
And I would like to thank the county commissioners, too. I forgot that part. I truly did plan it. But the county commissioners in this county are so supportive of our efforts to both prevent domestic violence and to help victims after the fact. So thank you all so much for that.
Well, we'll add your hotlines if we don't have it on our website. Do we have anything like that on our website? Do you know?
We can make sure it's added, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll make sure it's on there so people, if they get to our website, they'll know where to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand, turn around. Please stand right there and turn around and get a picture here. Thank you. Next, we have Case Management Recognition Week. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you. I see Ms. Kessler here. And Mrs. Harris. Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
And our proclamation this morning reads, whereas case management is a collaborative process of assessment, planning, facilitation, care coordination, evaluation, and advocacy for options and services to meet individuals and families' comprehensive health needs through communication and available resources to promote safety, quality of care, and cost-effective outcomes. And whereas Case Management Recognition Week is an opportunity to spotlight case managers and caseworkers in St. Mary's County and the value of their service to the community. And whereas case managers and caseworkers in St. Mary's County work tirelessly to ensure populations in need in the community and in long-term care settings have advocates to access to services. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 11th to 17th as Case Management Recognition Week. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for the recognition. We just wanted people to be aware that there's a lot of work that goes into supporting people in need by way of case managers, caseworkers. So there's, an enormous compassion that is required for the type of work that these individuals do. Rebecca Kessler is the Division Manager for Home and Community-Based Services and leads a team of case managers who support people in their home to remain in the community as long as possible. I want to give her an opportunity to say something if she'd like.
Thank you for allowing us this opportunity today, and I apologize, that was my phone ringing in the back because I am also a case manager. And there's case managers sitting in this room right behind us. So not just in our department, but in many operations in St. Mary's, there are caseworkers and case managers. Our hospital, Department of Social Services, Center for Life Enrichment, Center for Independent Living, the ARC of Southern Maryland. I just can't say that this is an incredible network, and then over the last year and a half, I deeply am thankful for this network of people pulling things together. So today's a day, and this week, recognize caseworkers everywhere you see them. That includes social workers, even nursing staff. So thank you to all of them.
We appreciate all you do. It's just good. It's a great thing to do.
Thank you.
We know you have people out there in need. We're trying to keep the elder in their home when they can and things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and Commissioner Colvin.
Yep. So I believe, Lydia, are you coming forward for this as Chair of the Commission for People with Disabilities? That's great. Ms. Pratson is joining. All right, this proclamation reads, whereas in 1945, Congress designated the first week in October as National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. In 1988, Congress expanded the week to a month and changed its name to National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month and all members of St. Mary's County are encouraged to participate and to celebrate the many and varied contributions of American workers with disabilities. And whereas the U.S. Department of Labor's theme for this year's national observance, which celebrates 76 years of disability employment awareness, is America's Recovery Powered by Inclusion, reflecting the importance of ensuring that people with disabilities have full access to employment and community involvement during the national recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy, and all individuals should be given the opportunity to participate entirely and equally in the social and economic life of the state and in the opportunity to engage in gainful employment. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month and urge all citizens of St. Mary's County to observe this month with appropriate programs and activities that reaffirm our dedication to create equal employment opportunities for people with disabilities.
Just briefly wanted to thank the commissioners for recognizing this month and also for your support of the Commission with People or on People with Disabilities. Lydia has done a wonderful job, and we're so excited to present our award ceremony. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. It is so important to include our folks with disabilities in the community, into the workforce. They have so much to give and so many talents. So thank you so much for recognizing that.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a presentation, and it's the Commission on People with Disabilities Award Ceremony, and will be led by Linda and Catherine Preston. Also, you'll be part of it. Thank you.
And we're very excited that the Commission has supported a sign language interpreter who is going to offer services for those watching the ceremony on television.
Very good, very good.
Thank you so much again for hosting this year's annual award ceremony for the Commission on People with Disabilities. The awards program is intended to promote awareness and to recognize the outstanding efforts of individuals and organizations that improve the quality of life for people with disabilities in St. Mary's County. Typically, the awards are issued annually, and any person, business, or organization within St. Mary's County is eligible, and nominations may be submitted by any party. This year, the award categories include Volunteer, Notable Employer, Care Partner Award, Innovative Program, and the Vicki Brown Award for Outstanding Person with a Disability. So without a further ado, I would like to start with the Volunteer Award. A candidate should demonstrate exceptional efforts on behalf of the disabled community through volunteering time and energy. And this year's winner is Mr. Joe Sinclair, nominated by Mary Ann Choning. Joe Sinclair is a 72-year-old businessman born and raised in St. Mary's County. Over the past 40 years, Joe has owned and operated a number of different businesses and dealt with people from all walks of life. In 1999, he bought and operated Swing and Swat, a family entertainment center in Hollywood, Maryland. He was generous enough to open the golf driving range for Special Olympics practices on evenings so the kids had a place to practice bocce ball. In addition to running his own business, Joe is a father of 4. His only son, J.W., was born with cerebral palsy. For J.W.'s 16th birthday, he invited the community-based special education class from Chopticon High School to celebrate with pizza, cake, and even had a DJ so they could dance the night away. Everyone talked about what a wonderful night it was. It eventually helped spark the group we refer to as our Special Friends. It has evolved over the years into a group of both young and older people with developmental and physical disabilities who gather monthly to party and dance together. Once Joe sold Swing and Swat, he moved the Special Friends parties to his farm in Avenue and started involving some of his equine friends. Thank you so much, Mr. Joe Sinclair. If you could come up and receive your award. Plaques, but I would like to shake your hand and take a picture. We'll get the plaque to you as soon as we get it engraved. And thank you so much for coming.
Probably should all stand, guys.
I'll suck my gut in.
Our next award is the Notable Employer Award. A candidate should demonstrate exceptional effort in advancing employment and/or volunteer opportunities to persons with disabilities in St. Mary's County. And this year, the winner is Texas Roadhouse, nominated by Jackie Loy from the Arc of Southern Maryland. I would like to nominate Texas Roadhouse for being a great employer in St. Mary's County. Texas Roadhouse hired one of the individuals supported by the Arc of Southern Maryland over 5 years ago. The Arc of Southern Maryland strives to find and work with employers who do not see the disability in a person, just the ability, and support community inclusion. Texas Roadhouse exemplifies this every day. The individual looks forward to going to work every day, enjoys their coworkers and the environment. A huge thank you for allowing everyone to be a part of your team. If there's a representative from Texas Roadhouse or from the ARC, they can come up and shake hands and take a picture with me. They were going to try to make it, but I'm sure they're busy with lunch or prepping. Make sure they get their plaque. Next is the Care Partner Award. Candidate must be a direct care provider, either paid or volunteer, that advocates for and empowers persons with disabilities, allowing for increased self-esteem and community inclusion. And this year, the winner is Deborah Bowles. She's nominated by Tamika Carter. Tamika says, Deborah has been with Bay CSS for over 20 years. Her dedication shows in her loyalty to her clients. In her many years with Bay CSS, she always goes above and beyond the call of duty. During the pandemic, she was very helpful with filling available shifts due to staffing shortages. We're so very grateful for Ms. Deborah's contribution for all these years. I am not sure if she's here in the room today, but if she is, if she can come up and take a picture. All right, so we'll... Next, we have the Innovative Program Award. Candidates should exhibit an innovative plan and its execution for inclusion of persons with disabilities in an area of community life. The winner this year is Crystal Hayslip with the ARC of Southern Maryland. She's nominated by Mindy Cornell-Shiflett. I would like to nominate Crystal for the Innovative Award Program. She's the recreation therapist at the ARC Southern Maryland. When the Maryland state shutdown started, Crystal was asked to take on the task of creating and implementing a virtual program to all of the participants at the ARC. Crystal began to turn all of her in-person talents to the Zoom world. She began working with individuals behind the screen, creating and implementing daily programs that everyone would enjoy, and dubbed her team the Zoom Masters. Crystal has been creating programs for individuals for over 18 months, giving participants a minimum of 5 programs per day to choose from. She had yet to duplicate a program. Crystal has kept many people busy, active, and in touch with friends and the community. It's amazing work. Thanks, Crystal. Next, we have the Vicki Brown Award. Candidates must be a person with a disability that enjoys all aspects of life, is a role model and inspiration for others, and participates in the advancement of barrier-free access for all. We usually award 2 Vicki Brown Awards every year, and this year, one of our winners is a posthumous award. We are so very sad that Mary Randall is no longer with us, but this year she's receiving the award, the Vicki Brown Award, and she's nominated by Sherry St. Clair. And this is what Miss Sherry said about Mary. This is some of the snapshots from our dear Mary's wonderful life. Mary Randall was a dear friend of mine whose life was cut short by cancer. Mary had cerebral palsy since birth and was confined to a wheelchair all of her life, but that never confined her spirit. Mary was an active member of the Special Friends, a group of physically and mentally challenged adults that gathered once a month for parties, picnics, and singing and dancing, and just having a great time with friends. Mary usually had a microphone in her hand and a smile on her face. She traveled a great deal and was always open to new opportunities as well as challenges. She participated every year in the Commission for Persons with Disabilities annual Christmas party, and despite her fear of our snowman, she participated by leading us in song to her favorite Christmas carol. Mary bravely faced her cancer treatments despite the fact that they never got her disease under control. She was an avid fan of horses and rode regularly at Greenville State Park. This is the first time the Commission has presented an award posthumously, but I feel it's greatly deserved by my friend, Mary Randall. And our second Vicki Brown Award goes to Jahan Lee, nominated by Vernisha Coleman. Mr. Lee is an exceptional individual. He does not let his disability be utilized as a barrier for him not to participate in any activity. He assists his peers as well as volunteers in his community. He is noticeably most happy when he sees that he has made others happy. Jahan is genuinely a kind-hearted, warm, and humble person. He inspires and is such a great role model for others by saying, "I can," instead of "I can't." Thank you, Jahan. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it, and we're very grateful to be able to award this, to have this program every year. Thank you, commissioners, again for your support.
Thank you.
And you got it. Thank you. Okay, next we move right into County Administrator time.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Commissioners, we start with your draft meeting agendas. Just a note, you have no meeting scheduled next week on October 12th. So your first draft meeting agenda is October 19th. You have 4 proclamations scheduled: White Cane Day, Red Ribbon Week for the Young Marines, and Red Ribbon Week for the Health Department, and Economic Development Week. You also have your regularly scheduled meeting for the St. Mary's County Board of Health, Office of the County Attorney with the decision to repeal the solar moratorium ordinance, and the Department of Land Use and Growth Management with the decision for the Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan Amendment for Property on Tap, LLC. You also have a request for public hearing from the Department of Land Use and Growth Management for electrical code amendments. You have a closed session that day for litigation and personnel. You adjourn your morning business meeting, and then that evening is a public forum at 6:30 p.m. here in this room. The next week is October 26th. It is your regularly scheduled meeting with the county commissioners and the commanding officer, NAS Pax River. The draft meeting agenda was scheduled to be at Knox, the Knox building. However, that's likely to be virtual, so we'll see how that changes over the next couple of weeks. And then from Department of Land Use and Growth Management, you have a request for public hearing for the alcohol beverage production. Also a closed session scheduled for litigation. You adjourn your morning meeting, or that runs in a little bit into the afternoon, to reconvene at 2 p.m. with the Maryland Department of Transportation for their 2021 Consolidated Transportation Tour, and they are planning on joining you via Zoom. For this morning's business meeting, you begin with item B from Human Resources and the Sheriff's Office for the request for the station clerk career ladder. Ms. Pratson and Captain American presenting this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Major American.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you today?
Morning. We're doing just fine.
Great.
Glad to see your smiling face again.
You know, I think we can all smile around this group. What do you think?
Or laugh.
Good morning again, Commissioners. We're here today to request consideration for developing a career ladder for the station clerk position. In the Sheriff's Office budget, there are 10 station clerk positions budgeted, and we've had a very difficult time keeping them filled. And what the Sheriff's Office has developed is a proposal that after a year of service, a station clerk 1, assuming that they have a successful performance evaluation and meet a certain training criteria, would be promoted to a station clerk 2. And then similarly, after 2 years of successful service and 2 years of a training program and completion of that, would be promoted to a station clerk 3. It would provide growth for the individuals in the job. We imagine that it would assist with retention of people, as well as helping to continue the quality of service that the customers and the public require. It's estimated the program will cost about $18,000 this current year because of the people that are in the positions. There are 5 filled positions. In years to come, that cost will likely be less, and the cost is already contained in the Sheriff's Office budget.
I'm confused. Mr. American, you're actually coming back with a cost that'll be less next year?
Yes.
I'm gone just in this project, Todd.
I wasn't worried. The first time I've seen you come ask for less.
I know.
Your hand isn't as
usually
big as
when
it
my
usually
hand comes out, we need a wheelbarrow. I get it.
Want to manage expectations, that's all.
We have a great opportunity here, Commissioners. Our attrition rate in the station clerk position has been very difficult, to say the least. As you know, Commissioner Morgan, 2 years ago, we got 5 more positions for the D4 station, so that gave us 10. But we haven't been able to fill them or keep them filled. Just to let you know, not just because of COVID, I look back to 2017 to present. We've hired 21 station clerks, and we only have 5. 3 of them have stayed with us, of that 21, into another position within the sheriff's office. So it is a huge, huge void we have, and it's a very important position. And the duty officer just cannot maintain. You know, the sheriff's office is really the only government building that is open to the public 24/7 every day. So you need somebody that's the face of the sheriff to be not only at headquarters, but at these district stations that we've all agreed and migrated to district-based policing and getting the cops in our communities and these station houses opened to provide the services that the public want, that you've embraced with us. And like I say, it's a really an easy button for us this time, like you were suggesting, Todd, and I really think it's a great opportunity. Our strategy helps us because you're hiring these civilians, and unlike county government, again, they're 24/7 people. They have to do shift work. They have to come in when it snows, when everybody else gets to stay home. They have to be there at Christmas and Thanksgiving. So this also rewards those folks for staying with us and coming to work every day. So It's up to you guys for us to decide. I'm quite sure maybe I'll get a unanimous vote, and maybe I'll take you all to lunch afterwards. What do you think?
Oh, you are feeling
Uh-oh, bribing the commissioners already. God.
Major American, tell me, when you say shift work, so these people are on 24/7?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Now, do you have differential pay for ones who have to work the later
Yes,
shifts?
yes.
That's a good point, too. I'm going to support this, of course. Now, have you ever
a free
thought
lunch
about...
is what you want.
You get a free lunch.
With free lunch.
No, I take...
That's what it is. Yeah.
Major American, I get no free lunches.
Well, you could take me to lunch then. How's that? I'll take right.
I get no free lunches.
Let's be
My
real,
point
as
to
long
you-
as it's $19, it's under 20, we're good. All right.
Perfect.
Don't worry, I take no free lunches.
I bet.
My point to you is, when doing this type of work, are people like at a desk all the time, or are they
are.
up and around?
They're at a desk, the phone rings nonstop, as you can imagine, in those places. They have to do teletype work when, for domestic violence violations, wanted hit confirmations, stolen property confirmations.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of intricacies in this job that most normal office positions don't have to maintain certifications on as well, so it is very important. Not to mention the amount of intelligence that comes across that desk to us.
Okay, Ms. Pratson, we're seeing a lot of people who are looking for ladders, looking for some kind of, what's the term? Commitment to, if they've
Career
been in the
opportunity.
position long enough, that someone new doesn't come in and jump ahead of them somehow. And it seems to be something that's common throughout county government. I appreciate if you take a look at that when you, quote unquote, get some free time.
Sure, and we developed a career ladder position in the corrections facility, and it's been very successful.
And I'd like to copy that model further, because we're hearing a lot of this.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, thank you.
Mr. President, I move to approve developing a career ladder for the station clerk position within the sheriff's office for existing station clerk employees and new hires.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
When's lunch?
Give me a call.
You won that hands down, boy, I tell you.
Y'all have a great day.
You too now. Thank you.
Goodbye, Major.
Thank you, Commissioners. And the
For
item
now.
C is from the Department of Finance with the Board of Education request approval of the FY 2022 categorical budget adjustment. Jeanette Cudmore, CFO, will introduce the item. Ms. Cudmore?
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. We have here this morning Mr. Boyle from the Board of Education to discuss a categorical transfer that is requested for purchasing a new Haas TL Series tool room lathe machine. Mr. Boyle?
Okay, so what we have here, the categorical change we're asking for is, if you can go to the next one, is for a machine that we found out late last spring, once we got back into school, was no longer working. Took some time to get the company to get someone in, so we didn't get an estimate until July 11th. So at that point, we were already solidified in where we had to be able to move money around. We weren't able to move money around there. Basically, this machine is a 2006 machine that we bought back then. It's just that. It's a production grade 3-axle mill. Our estimated repairs are over $21,000 to repair it. And when we looked into what new technology was, which was far greater, we were talking just over $40,000. Next slide, please. This just gives you an idea of what it is. I think the thing that I point out here is one of the reasons we like these CNC machines is, first of all, Haas is what is used on the base and in the contractors, so our kids are versed in that when they come out of here. It does say here, because they're a very simple learn to operate and the perfect startup. Well, that's relative. It's easy for them because they're trained in it. Maybe not necessarily I can go in there. So there's still quite a bit that goes into before you can pop onto one of these machines. The next slide shows you what it is like. I purposely didn't show the old one because, well, probably I should have showed the old one because it's scary and it's big and there's no safety. This is sleek and very safety. Probably the only way you could get hurt on this machine is if you were closing that door and maybe shut your fingers in it, because none of the machine operates until it's been coated and shut. That's not the case with our 2006. With our 2006, if we go to the next slide, with our 2006, basically the repairs are so expensive because it's like any other technology now. The 2006 machine is big and ugly and looks scary, and it just no longer operates within the software. It has generated out, so it's no longer being supported even by the company. So what we were going to have to do is just not only a current software and all that, but the internals had to be changed as well, and that's why it was $21,000. Now that $21,000 is probably to us, I can't even imagine what it would be if it wasn't a school-based product. And we could get no guarantees on that. We couldn't get a guarantee that in 3 years it wouldn't have to happen again. So that's when we came to the decision that it's probably best to buy the new technology, which should last us 10 to 15 years easily, and not put in the money towards that. So where we want to do is we want to move our categorical. We have a lot of very expensive stuff at the tech center, and when we are going to go something over a $5,000 machine, we budget it that way. Well, we didn't know about this machine breaking down until after the budget, so we're going to move it from a category that says anything under $5,000 to anything over $5,000, which is this case.
Mr. Boyle, what does this lathe do?
It machines parts, so the kids can design a part on their Sims and their CADs, put it in there, and whether it's a gear or whatever, it takes a solid piece of mass, a piece of metal, and turns it into whatever it is that you've programmed into it.
Would this be for a metallurgy class, or?
It's production engineering.
Okay.
So it's exactly what that is. We currently have another Haas machine that we bought several years ago, a little bit bigger and different than this one. I think it was around $65,000, but that was bought through Perkins Grant money. And it does a little bit different than this, but these two machines prepare them to walk right in. I mean, these kids they're begged for on our base.
Yeah, Mr. Boyle, I think that's the key thing. These are skills that are critical to our workforce, not somewhere else in the country. This is needed right here in our community, and this is good.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely a good choice to have this, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
We're preparing people for the workforce in the local area. Tremendous.
It's a huge skill, especially manufacturers like Triton Metals, what they're doing down there with the CNC machines. There's other types of manufacturers that we are rolling out these parts. Some parts just can't be found, especially right here at our airport with the aviation industry. You have to remanufacture them and make them. These CNC machines are right there. So it's a great thing to have. So I'm glad you're updating it too, because
Triton Metals is one of them that we work with. We support kids into a lot of the programs here in apprenticeships.
Yeah.
I think we currently have about 25 of them throughout our, what we call Tech Jobs Rule. It's a certain 11 with kids with a certain skill base that work out in our community.
All right, thank you. Need a motion?
Well, I move to approve the Board of Education's request of an FY 2022 categorical budget adjustment for the purchase of new equipment.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Boyle.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item D is also from the Department of Finance with the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission with a resolution issuing DHCD bonds. Ms. Cudmore will introduce the guests.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Erickson is here. And Commissioners, this is for the approval of your resolution for the full faith and credit to support the loan from Metcom. Their board actually approved the resolution for Metcom back on September 23rd. And then here's your resolution, and the closing is actually scheduled for December 21st. And Mr. Erickson is here to talk more about the loan.
And we did approve this application in August.
You did.
Correct?
You did. The application was here on August 31st. Yes.
You approved the application, and thank you for the supplemental motion, which also amended our CIB, or we would have had to come back the fourth time. That approval triggered several other events. Number one was our resolution that we, of course, had to pass, the public hearing, which was a supplemental appropriation. I know Jeanette's familiar with those, to accept the $2.6 million. And then we go back to our board on the 28th of October to get our board to approve the supplemental appropriation and the acceptance of the 2.6 and the revised capital budget. So for this particular project totals $12.5 million. And I know there's a question out there, just because I know. The total project is a complicated funding formula. So we have Metcom reserves of $2.5 million. We have some skin in the game, if you will. The ARPA grant funding, which is $2.6 million. The DHCD loan, which is included in this package, and I'll round it up to 2.2. I think it's 2.19 or somewhere in that area.
174.
2.2.
2.174.
2.174, so we'll call it 2.2 because it makes my math easier.
Okay.
Bay restoration funds, $3.5 million, and an MDE loan of $1.6 million, which totals $12.5. Since May of this year, we advised the board, I think Commissioner Morgan asked the question, and maybe Mr. Colvin, you did as well, about cash flow. And we explained all the way back in May that it's not for cash flow that the ARPA funding was necessary, it was for the application. And we have to demonstrate that we have the full authority, a budgetary authority in our budget to do that. And of course, not until the Metcom board approves their capital budget, since you have to approve it first on October 28th, will we have that full authority. Our intent is to submit the application for funding in January, or in December or January, but we won't hear back till May. So that's doing two things for both of our boards. It's holding up $2.5 million in reserves that we hope we didn't have to use, and it's holding up $2.6 million in ARPA that really doesn't need to be needed yet. It's needed there for the application authority. So we didn't wait. We didn't want to wait for the application. We've already met with MDE. We've looked at their funding formula, their funding eligibility, and I don't know if you recall, but back when the St. Clement Shores Phase B process was going through all the revisions that were necessary, we only got priority funding area exemption for the 140 existing lots, not for the full expansion to 320. So that changes the funding formula a little bit. So we've met with MDE, and we're talking to them about eligibility of funds to see if there's any way we can restructure, if you will, the timing of it. And one of the suggestions has been to phase this project to take care of the 140 existing lots, which we all agree right off the bat we have to do, and a proportion of the 320 total at the initial phase. Because if you all know about how sewers or anything else works, you need the flow. If you build the plant for the full build out and none of the infrastructure is there to bring that sanitary sewer to the treatment plant, you won't have that amount of flow to treat in the facility. So one of the things we're looking at is phasing, and we're going to try to ferret that out prior to the application phase.
Good idea.
But for right now, 12.5 is the number, and hopefully by the joint meeting, if not soon thereafter, we'll have an answer from the state. And if we can reduce anyone's funding, of course, I would selfishly want to reduce our reserves, but based on the demands on ARPA, likewise, you would like to pull back on some of the ARPA, which you can do now that it's approved. You can increase your budgets, you can decrease your budgets without a lot of fanfare, but you can't increase them. And we've had 2 public hearings and have come back to you 3 or 4 times. So our intent is to ferret that out before the application so that neither one of our boards have to wait till May to get the answer. And a letter's being drafted this week. I looked at a draft this morning and made some edits to it. So our plan of action is if we can phase the project into, let's say, instead of 12.5, a 10 and a 2 to get the full intent of that project. Number one, ARPA would be the first target to basically pull that back. We would tell Dr. Bridget we wouldn't need that money. That would be the first, and then the second would be our Metropolitan Commission reserves. Those would be the first 2 things we would target if we can bring in a phasing project at a little lower cost. So it keeps the purpose and intent of the 320 EDUs. It addresses flow and the community's ability to put all that infrastructure in, and it also is being sensitive to ARPA and METCOM reserve monies that are part of the project. So
very good.
It's pretty complicated, but we're not sitting idle, I can assure you that.
I move to approve the county's resolution authorizing full faith and credit Metropolitan Commission's issuance of infrastructure bonds in the amount not to exceed $10,700,000 in accordance with Section 113-2.c of the Code of St. Mary's County, and authorize the Commission President to sign any related documents.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Erickson, I've gone into this in detail, sir, and thank you for what you're doing a good job. Now, I am going to recommend today that we remove some of the $2.6 million we gave in the American Rescue money and give it to the fire departments because they need it too. Now, what I'll say, though, is that the 348 EDUs, that is going to be over multiple years.
Correct.
And when I met with, again, I had to meet alone because another commissioner didn't show up, with the Maryland Department of the Secretary, Grumbles, Maryland Department of the Interior Secretary, he indicated that there may be a grant available for a infrastructure line to go into that area that you're talking about with the 144 or so EDUs. So I'm not sure where that lies, but I think there's plenty of time. And given the fact that Congress is now talking about an October 31st date for this infrastructure bill that's bipartisan going through Congress, that may come in and help you quite a bit, or help us help you quite a bit. So I support St. Clements Shores wastewater treatment plant expansion. I've been on that for probably 6 years now. I appreciate everything your department has done, but I do believe that the $2.6 million is allocated to you right now at American Rescue can be better used by the fire departments for protective gear, breathing apparatus, decontamination tents, rescue boats, other items. So I won't want to pull any punches on you, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you're a good guy, you're doing a great job, but I do want to say you have DH or DCHD money available to you. You have 40% of our borrowing capacity available to you. You have water resource money available to you. You have a lot of outlets, and these other people don't. So again, I just want to let you know, I'm going to vote to approve this. I hope we can line everything up and get it done in time, but I do believe it's multiple years to get you where you need to go, and I think there's a better use for the funds, sir. So just want to be up front with you.
Mr. Erickson, I'd like to know from your point of view, with what Commissioner Hewitt has just proposed, which is news to me, how that affects St. Clements Shores and the wastewater treatment plant.
Well, we need, the bottom line is the project cost is 12.5. When you submit an application so that they can ferret out all the different funding, you need to have the authority in place. And the approval that was obtained from the county commissioners earlier has triggered a series of events where our capital budget has been approved at 12.5. So the reduction in 2.6 at this time would basically remove your approval of the CIB, we would have to rescind the public hearing that we just held to accept the ARPA money, and then we'd have to reschedule our October 28th meeting, and then we wouldn't have the full authority. Soon thereafter, what I'm proffering is that hopefully by November, December, we will have the answer and can return whatever portion of the ARPA money is not necessary if we can phase this project in or there's other funding sources.
So basically a three-ring circus. Sounds like a three-ring circus is what it would cause, is a lot of motions and movements and financial strains on our finance department to make a rash decision.
That term, I would say.
No, I'm using that
has
term.
We would have to rescind some things that we put in motion, but if we can wait another month or a month and a half, I think we can have your answer, and I would hope to be able to come back and say, we're proffering up to $2.6 million. And
Right.
I want to have
Can't
that.
proffer the $2.6 million. Why are we going through this exercise?
We don't know what the application.
That's right, you don't know.
Ability is going to turn out to be. So if it turns out that we can phase the project.
But you will know this in a couple of months.
Correct, but we don't want to wait till May. So we're
No,
having
no,
these
no.
preliminary discussions now with the state, and we're sending them a position paper this week that says, here's what we would like to do. We don't necessarily want to spend 12.5 because we think it's going to be money spent over the next 20 years.
I agree.
Can we phase the project differently, address the 140, another 50, 60, 70 beyond that, and build that now and do the rest later? And that's what our proposal is, but I also want to discuss this with the board so that they're in concurrence as Phase 1 return ARPA, not Phase 1 supplant ARPA with our reserves.
Well, I think that's one of the expectations, and I think that's where Commissioner Morgan's going with it, is they don't want to have the expectation out there that $2.6 million is being returned from Metcom and going to the fire departments, because that's just not the reality that's facing us right now, because it could actually be something different based on whatever that final number is, whatever finance comes up with, and whatever that middle ground may be. Of course, I appreciate you saying, ARPA money, but it could be a combination thereof. It could be less. We don't know at this point. So it's not 2.6 million. That expectation is not the reality right now, and we need to find a few months to actually figure out where this is all going to lay and shake itself out.
I just recall $40 million, and I'm not tracking the ARPA money. I recall over $40 million of requests and only $20 million available.
Correct.
This year.
So if we can return the 2.6 to be able to be better utilized by the county in some other area, that would be our first course of action.
Thank you.
That's my position to my board, but I would like our board to concur with that, and our next meeting is October 28th, and that's where we'll discuss.
I concur with that.
Yeah.
I
Returning
agree
it back
with
in a couple of months.
your 10,700,000 requests for this DHCD money. I think that's good. Hopefully you don't borrow it before you need it, because
Absolutely not.
180 days later, you'll start paying principal and interest, so let's be careful of that. But I would say to my other colleagues on this board is that this is a multi-year, long-term process to commit the 2.6 now, so they can have the idea of the approval. That can come elsewhere. We've given them 40% of our borrowing authority, the 3.15%. That's a lot. They can replace this 2.6. These fire department people cannot. They've lost that money. If anybody's been impacted by COVID, it's not just only about carnivals. It's about renting facilities. It's about having dinners and having different fundraising events, breakfasts down to 2nd District. These fire department people have been impacted. And for what they're asking for, protective gear, breathing apparatus, decontamination tents, exhaust to allow their engines to start up without smoking up the whole building during when it's cold, and a rescue boat is reasonable. And Mr. Erickson, you're doing a great job. I think reallocating your recent funding and saving $3 million in interest by taking debt from 4% down to 1.5, 1.7, that's great work, sir. That's great work. I just think we can get both. We can do both.
Don't disagree at all, Commissioners. We came to you with the list of eligible projects for you to prioritize. I gave you the justification. This would, I don't want to reuse Commissioner O'Connor's words, I forget what they were already, but this would change the motion in the direction that we were given less than a week ago.
And this could possibly delay your
I said three-ring circus.
That's what
And
is
it
what
would
I said.
delay the loan process, because all of the documents after this, hopefully we get your approval today for the resolution, all the documents are due to the state for their loan processing for hopefully by the 19th of October for the closing in December. So it would update this. And again, we have time, I think, with the American Rescue, because it's a 2-year. We have 2 years of $11 million each. And yes, I do believe there is more money coming down from the federal government, and we'll have to address it. At this point, we don't know what we're going to receive or when we're going to receive it, so.
And as you've given us the full faith and credit, I promise you my full faith that we will, prior to the loan application, get this ferreted out by the state, and that the first priority for METCOM with respect to ARPA and the funding of this project would to be return all or as much as we can of that as our first choice.
I think that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, my concern is we spent so many years trying to get St. Clement Shores up and getting that treatment plant and everything up and operating. I don't want to pull the rug out from all
Want to
those.
delay that
there.
not a day?
We'll still have the 320 EDUs. We'll just
I
address.
get that, but
But again, Commissioner Moore, we're not going to pull the rug out. I mean, there's other sources available. This isn't pulling the rug out.
well, there's plenty of sources of money available for everything. Let's be honest. There's
Well, it's about
too much damn
priorities.
money out there as it is. That's the problem.
It's about priorities.
We'll have a $20 million fund balance in December, so there's plenty of money there, too. I mean, either way, there's plenty of money. So there's no emergency on some of these things. I mean, the fire departments have come forward. You know, there was plenty of emergencies with EMS, which we did not allocate money to right away. So they're perfectly fine. They have a process. They're following it. They know what they need and they don't need. And they'll be perfectly fine following the process that's there.
And Commissioners, if there was a single source, we would find it. Right now, we're funding this project with 5 sources. So there may be more. We've already got 5. And if we can supplant one of them with another one, whether it's a lower interest rate or a return of the ARPA, we'll certainly do that as well. Right now, we're just trying to get an application in with authority from both boards and a capital budget that supports that. But we don't want to wait till May, especially with this ARPA allocation.
Okay, got it.
And just to be clear, the way this discussion has just kind of evolved, it sounds like it's almost turned into a METCOM versus fire department, and it's not that. It doesn't need to be framed that way. It shouldn't be that way, and it's not that way. So, thank you.
No, I agree.
Hey, we got
Thank
a
you.
first and second. I'd like to move on, please. Got a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any disapprovals? Ayes have it.
And we'll be back.
Commissioners. We trust you, Ms. Erickson. We really do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioners. And item E is from the Department of Finance with the review of the American Rescue Plan Act. Ms. Cudmore?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bridget. This is a follow-up to the September 14th agenda. We have a change in the request. The request for the American Rescue is currently at $41.3 million. The update for the request represents Department of Emergency Services to request for emergency services house funding and emergency services supplemental staffing. For the fire departments, change in Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department requesting a replacement watercraft. And then for the Sheriff's Office, request for an installation of a license plate reader. And also, I have an update on the reporting for the American Rescue Act. I was getting ready to start my reconciliation of my expenses through September so that I could submit those to the U.S. Treasury at the end of October, and they have just changed the dates for the reporting. Now they're going to request my reporting be done at the end of January for expenses through December. I guess when they saw the $702 that I submitted for the last report, they said, let's give them a little bit more time so we can get some more numbers. So that was a good update to me. That's one less thing I have to work on right now. But again, we have the 3 changes. You have in front of you the updated spreadsheet, and the items that are highlighted, you'll see in the total request column. So you can see that the EMS house is about $200,000. The supplemental staffing for emergency services is about $1.7 million. And right now, the request has upgraded for Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department for a watercraft of $65,000. I do have representatives here from the fire departments and fire board, if you'd like to hear more from them.
Well, I would, definitely.
Yeah. I want to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music between the fire departments and the ESB across the board.
Yes. Gentlemen?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Welcome, John.
Morning.
Morning.
So the request from Hollywood is a change. So the original request was a $200,000 request for the bunk room, and that is a change due to an emergency expense they had with their current raft being completely out of service. So that is a change from the $200,000 down to $65,000.
I mean, I have no problem with the change as long as a membership is good with that. I mean, I know it's out of the process. I know it's a change from the 200,000, so they're not going to get the 200,000.
Right.
It's
And
65.
they submitted the letter to you all, submitted it through the Fire Board Association, and I submitted the request, I believe, back to you all, or at least that it was acknowledged and there was no issues with it.
Okay, so let me ask this question. I agree with the whole process you've gone through so far. Hollywood came to you, you said yes, 65 for 200, et cetera, and you placed the 65 back in where the bunk room was.
Correct.
I believe also along the way, you guys have prioritized this list from 1 to whatever the bottom number is. So it appears on the sheet of paper right now that the watercraft remains in the same priority order. So based on what is being asked today, are you guys okay with us putting the $65,000 in and bumping up over the other priorities that you had previously indicated?
So, Commissioner, those were just the top 11 things. I don't think, it's hard to rank that we need gear for our firefighters that are going to a fire over one thing or the other. I mean, those top 11 things were the top 11 things. If the order you want to change, there's no...
Okay, that's good, because what we have got on our piece of paper, priority order.
Right.
Yeah. And we're just trying to follow the motion so that the priorities that we perceive have been given by you guys, we're following. Now, if you want to bump the priority order and say everything's a 1 or a 6 or a 7, I don't care.
I like to say everything's a 1, but I know that's...
I don't want to start, like I said, I don't want to start a contest of he said, she said, and I get the money here and you don't. That ain't my job.
No, those things, when we went through them, were the top 11 things that we felt would benefit everyone, were the most beneficial. I mean, everything that we use has a service life based off the standards that we follow, that the NFPA standards that we use as a guide. So, a gear, it could be, has a 10 to 15-year replacement life based on the service life. So, those things, we can't set a priority on how, one thing could be over another. We just know that we need them, and we budget based off of when we're going to need those items.
So the question I would have then is, would it be easier to remove the priority lines at the commissioner level and say there is a blanket amount, and the Emergency Services Board, based on the need for each department, makes the direction for that allocation, and once we approve that, basically, we approve a set amount, and then you work through it, removing the politics of what department gets what, who, how, when, SCBAs, PPEs, new engines, new boats, whatever, and allow you to go ahead and make those priorities based on your expert opinion in the emergency services field. I mean, we have an ESB for a reason.
We would have no objection to that at all, and I think that would be a much easier process. We were just following the guidance that we were given to submit the request.
While we're throwing out ideas, what I would ask the other commissioners to consider is, what if we just gave a flat rate to every department and remove the earmarks for whatever programs? You all decide how you need to use the money. You all manage your fire departments better than we will, and just take it from there.
Again, no objection to that at all. That would.
You have two choices. Give the whole thing to the ESB to figure out, or you want to make an allocation divided by whatever the number is.
I think maybe we give it to the ESB and let them figure out if they're going to do an allocation to each department. They can get with the chiefs, they can get with the, or they can say, this is our priority list and this is how we're going to do it, and go from there. I mean, you have the Chiefs Association, or Fire Board, sorry, and you have EMS. I think you got the mechanism to make it happen fairly, and on top of that, y'all work together all the time, so.
And to be quite frank, I mean, we had 50 other items that didn't make this cut that some departments could say that may be a higher priority that just didn't make the cut for this list. So.
And y'all can call a special meeting and handle all this versus waiting to come back here and have us do it. So, I mean,
But the proposal is to make one suggested amount of money and let the fire board decide.
Yep.
The prioritization.
Yep.
That's all.
Cudmore, how much of our two-year $22 million do we have unallocated at this point?
Unallocated, well, if you look at the spreadsheet, I didn't, because there's some things in here.
Negative on the allocation now, what, 53,000?
That's only on 22.
And that's in 22. Right now, we're in balance, I think, actually, based on the recommendations from the county administrator for 23. So, and then we will look at it, and there might be some things that could be reprioritized, because included in the list for 22 are things that really have not been approved yet, but they're a part of the recommendation and have not been removed. So,
what is the total that's was allocated to?
Looking at this chart, it looks like just over 12 million.
That's what, it's
it's
so small,
right
I'm
now,
trying to zoom
there's
in.
been 12.3 million approved, and that's for the over the 2 years, exactly.
I'm just trying to see for
So
the
we
fire
wouldn't need to
departments.
pull back money from Metcom in order to fund
goal right
other
now.
needs.
You would not need to, exactly.
Okay.
So depending on what if you wanted to give like a dollar amount, like a 500,000 for each
Well-
year or $1 million, we could realign. I mean, right now, the 2023, yes, it shows that it's balanced, but not all of the items have been completely approved. They're just in the column as a recommendation. So we would have to come back to you on whatever you decided to approve with another rebalancing.
So we can come up with this, a total dollar amount, let the fire board make decision how the department split it up.
Yes, and then they would work with me, because I would need to know what they're
You'd be allocating money out, I understand
buying,
that.
so that I can report it properly to the U.S. Treasury. We would have to work closely together on that.
Well, this commissioner likes that idea. Give it to the fire board, and let them
Yes.
decide.
I mean, based on these numbers here, I mean, I don't know where the other commissioners sit, but if I'm looking at this allocation, can we do it in incremental phases versus saying we're going to allocate $2 million all at once? I mean, it looks like there's can't see the total.
Well, in that column, if you look at the 22 county administrator column, you can see right now with the fire departments, we've got the 83,000, the 80,000, the 66,000, and right below that is the 543,000.
Right.
The 543,000 has not been an item that's been approved, but yet it's in the total column that adds up to the 11 million.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do a 500 or in that area, you could.
I like the number that's sitting right there, that's already been vetted by the county administrator right now. It's 543.
The 543?
Right. Can you guys start with that?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, Mr. Nelson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What we're talking about here is COVID money that impacts because of COVID. So I would say to you, sir, it's been said by commissioners on this board that you guys have $5 million in the bank. Now, we did request a budget analysis, and all the departments have something like that in the bank, it looks like. But I know you have costs to replace gear, infrastructure gear, and that is well over $1 million from what I've seen. But what we're talking about here is COVID money, impacts related to COVID. Now, I know you were impacted by, again, loss of rental opportunities for the firehouses, the loss of breakfasts and dinners and other events like that, loss of carnivals, even though there's only 2. I know there was a lot of losses. Now, the thing that over here with this protective gear, this breathing apparatus, this exhaust ventilation, this boat, and again, if I don't have support on this, I'm still going to fight for you, sir. Because what I've seen is you have things that wear out, whether they be hoses, whether they be just the coats and the gear that firefighters need to use. And thank God you're volunteers, because if you were paid, my brother-in-law was on the paid force down in Atlanta. He would come up and visit us. He'd go to Hollywood Firehouse and drool over that equipment because they can't get it because they have such a high cost for their labor. So my point to you, sir, is what kind of losses do you think you've lost as a result of the 18 months or 16 months? I worked the Hollywood Carnival, and it was a real eye-opener for me. The number of people wanting to get out of the house, wanting to get back to normal, it was amazing. And I know you're for all the fire departments. I'm for all the fire departments. It's not just about Hollywood. It's about all of them. But what were the impacts, and what are the kind of things that you need to replace, say, on a monthly, quarterly, bi-yearly basis? Hoses,
Yeah, correct. So, and a lot of that stuff was on the list as well. But I think every department, as you stated, was affected in some way. I mean, whether it was the breakfasts, whether it was just a simple fundraisers. There, I think departments are trying to go to Facebook to try to fundraise, and that's clearly not the answer to try to raise money. They're doing these auctions and little things, but the difference was nowhere near what we would have made in a regular year. Now, I don't have that exact number in front of me, but I think we could probably come up with something close. But the stuff we're using that money for is those everyday items that we need on the fire apparatus, that we need to protect our people, and you're absolutely right with that.
Well, I have done a look at the numbers, sir, and I guess what I hear us talking about is allocating a certain amount. Hey, I'm fine with that. And giving you the ability to spend it on where you need, I'm fine with that, because you know your needs best, sir. And my number is $2,389,360. And it takes time to go through each of these items. Now, that's over 2 years, sir. It'd be $1,238,785 in the first year, $1,150,575 in the second year.
So you're saying you calculated $2.3 million of losses that the fire department's
Now,
had?
as what of requests that they've made in their priorities.
Oh, you added up.
The original
Okay.
request for everything was like 3.5 million.
Yeah.
We narrowed it down to the.
But Chief, as we talked, we
Absolutely.
saw the opportunities. Of course, with any grant funding, everybody sees opportunities. They work outside of their budget, and they try to figure out, outside in a good way, to figure that funding. What I like about this methodology is that people that have never stepped foot in a burning building aren't making the decisions about the equipment that for people that do. And that's the methodology I like. And if you need more, and it is up to 2.6, then so be it. But guess what? You work through this funding, you get it out there, you reprioritize, and you come back and say, hey, guess what? We need some more. It could be monthly, quarterly, whatever it may be, but it can come through the proper channels, and we can all get up to whatever amount it would be. And if there's losses from fundraisers, put it out there, get the audit, say, this is what we lost on fundraising, and we could use that, and then present that number through the ESB, and then come back and make the request specific for the fundraising. I mean, it's an easy process to follow, and I don't think there's anybody up here that's not going to support it. If we get to 2.6, we get to 2.6. If we don't, we don't. But I'm sure you'll bring the needs that need to be met. So, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the $65,000 for the Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department rescue craft, and I also, in the same motion, approve the $543,120 to be allocated for the fire rescue administered by the Emergency Services Board, and the Commissioner President to sign any related documents as required. Is that clean enough for you, Ms. Cudmore?
Good. And how much was that total now we're talking about?
So it's $543,120, and then $65,000.
$608,000.
Yeah, that's it.
Enough. Well, we need a second to discuss.
Well, I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Discussion.
It's bad when you got free money, because you can't do a budget when everybody expects free money coming down the road. So when I look at this picture, I see your concerns and needs, which are valid and we understand. I look at the needs of emergency services, because we still don't know where our emergency billing is and our fire tax and our rescue tax are. And from my point of view, I would add to the amount of money for the emergency service come out of this pot of money now or sometime in the future. And at the same time, Dr. Brewster has a series of requirements, I think, that requires the health department to begin their planning phases, not only for the hub, for some other stuff, for the COVID money. So I'm looking at this as a much bigger umbrella than right now we're just picking and choosing parties and sides. And the bigger umbrella is what's best for all the overall needs of St. Mary's County. And that's what I'm worried about right now, is we're starting to have turf wars. And turf wars is the last thing I want to see sitting at this table, when needs of many different pieces within the community need to be addressed. So with Commissioner O'Connor's message, Sheriff Merrickin's sitting back there, we didn't talk about the license plate reader that was supposed to be on the list today. And then we have to worry about, I'm worried about Dr. Brewster being able to plan her future with the health department for the $1 million we had discussed for next year for those personnel. So where does all that fit into the table here while we're sort of playing, castle versus castle?
Well, Ms. Cudmore, tell me, we've been under pressure to allocate this $22 million. When I say we've been under pressure, we know that the President of the United States talked about the money that was supposed to go to the, people with the eviction. We've heard about Senator Hoyer, Congressman Hoyer, talking about...
A different pot of money, though.
No, I agree. But it's all about spending stimulus money, Commissioner Colvin.
Right.
And it's about priorities, sir. And if you don't support fire department, that's fine. And if somebody wants
that. I never said I don't support fire department.
All support fire department.
I never said
I'm not
that.
saying we all
volunteered
don't.
for some years myself.
But it's
and I
about
definitely
this,
support 'em.
Commissioner President Guy. Either you're with these guys or you're not. And it's
Bullshit.
about-
Oh, give me a break.
I'm with you.
Mr. President, can you call the vote?
Here's me.
President.
Civilize this thing now, please. No more.
A priority.
Let's discuss right now. We're talking about funding here. And how much was it we're allocating right now?
Right, you're allocating right now the 65,000 and the 543, which is about 608.
608 at this time?
And that would be okay to do that in the 22 American Rescue. We should have enough to fund that. Any other funding would have to come.
That's just a start. That's not.
That is a start, right.
Okay.
And can I just say, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
we certainly appreciate any funding that you will give us.
No, you're going to
whatever
get
is.
it. You're going to get it. It's just it's a battle between us about how we give it out here.
Thank
That's
you.
the only problem we got. So it's we're not trying to do anything but trying to see, like Commissioner Morgan did, we got the whole county
Completely
to spread it
understand.
around, and you have needs, and to cover this, we're definitely you're going to get your share, no doubt in my mind. So right now, we're looking at the motion is for $608,000 now, is that correct?
Yes.
For the two items, yes.
I have a first and second on that? I think I did.
You do.
You do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Thank you,
Are those
Commissioners.
Power Stroke engines in the fire trucks?
In the fire trucks?
Yeah, or are they Cummings?
Well, you can get it.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Thanks.
I'll be in touch.
So,
We also have two other requests that are here. We have requests also from the Department of Emergency Services and from the Sheriff's Office. Would you like to have them come up?
Yes.
Their items, or are you complete?
The only concern I have with the Sheriff's Department one is I requested that in executive session because it's under safety and security.
Yes.
And
Say it again now? What was that?
the Sheriff's Department request, I requested that the specifics of that be discussed under executive session under safety and security.
Why is that?
It goes to law enforcement operations, locations. It's not about the money. The money can be discussed openly, but
We talked about location. We
Specifics,
just
yes.
talked about the money, so what are you talking about?
Well, that's what I want to ensure because there's documents up here.
Right, that are not in public view, right.
Well, okay. Well, I just want to make sure that the locations are not discussed.
Don't need to reveal none of that.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure. And that was my only reason, so that was my only
No,
concern.
you're fine.
Okay, as long as we're all on the same page.
It's overall discussion
Thank
of
you.
it, but not
We're
details.
just discussing monies.
Yeah.
That's all we're discussing.
Okay, good.
Nothing else.
Yeah,
Just
that's
money.
it. All right, good.
Let's keep it to
And
that,
any
guys.
approval
Money.
or
Thank you.
recommendation for these two items would definitely need to be in the FY23.
I
Because
would also
think
ask that we
done.
consider $60,000 for a ADA accessible boat for St. Clements Island to match the grant that the Senator
has
Bailey
gone.
is looking to put in
In 23?
23.
Yeah, I mean, based on discussions with the county administrator, it can fall into multiple categories.
Yeah.
Pending.
Is that a part of the request now, or is this a new
I
request?
think that's pending, right? The
Yeah.
Pending,
60,000.
this is for the,
We're waiting for support from the senator first, right?
Yes.
Yes, we don't have anything in writing
We have
for
nothing right.
that.
We need a
think-
200,000 in requests from him.
I think that application is on the Emergency Services Board agenda, I think,
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right.
if that's the same one.
Maybe.
And we've
Sounds
already
good.
been working that already. We're started
And then
working
that would
already.
flow through the county.
Right, right.
I think so.
Either one, we'll let it work through its process. I think Commissioner
Thank you.
Colvin just wanted to get it on the
Sounds
on
good.
the,
The radar.
the mind of everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like to have the Department of Emergency Services come to the table
And the sheriff department.
and the sheriff to
Yeah,
discuss
yes.
their request?
Right, right.
All righty. Come on up.
Both of us or just one?
No, both of you.
Come on
got,
up.
got two chairs. Both of you come up. Yeah, thank you.
Why don't we talk about the emergency services one first? Mr. Walker, thank you for coming.
Want me to start?
Sure, go for it.
So on the discussion on the house, I think that we should just delay that discussion. The estimates that have come in are quite a bit higher than was anticipated, so I just think you push that off to another meeting, or you just dispose of it, one or the other. It's quite a bit more than we had anticipated, so I'm not prepared.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to discuss that until we get a little bit further along.
Okay.
So the EMS house is off? Are we taking it off?
At this time.
We taking the house completely off the list here?
It's not recommended at this time, Commissioner Guy.
Okay.
We'll bring that back at a reconciliation if it's a more appropriate time.
I understand.
So
Okay.
if you see what the total requests are for Mr. Walker, the county administrator's request is the $1.7 million in 2023 for
Right.
the supplemental staff funding, and that's not appropriated. So for FY '22, you, based on the prior motion, you have $256,242 available for allocation in FY '22. FY '23, you have, of course, more.
I think we're covered for this fiscal year, aren't we?
We're close. And
I
then
mean, I would not want to be allocating money today because we still have a number of months left in the year. I mean, we're only in October.
Right, and I'll be coming back with another update of the American Rescue. I think it's November 16th.
By then, we'll also be able to get a better allocation on emergency billing, calls, et cetera. I mean, just to throw money at something without having data to support it is
Exactly, more
basic.
information will be known at that time. So did you,
Well, the only question I do have on that, beyond the money, is I'm getting I've seen a lot of the emails for do not respond or failures across the county. We've gotten significantly better. However, the north end of the county, I know we have some issues elsewhere as well, but due to call volume, I am constantly seeing failures in the north end of the county. Whether that's the system, however it is, I want to make sure that we're covering that. I've mentioned it several times, but somebody can go,
We are covering it, but the way we're covering it is the way we've always done this, is that, and really what's happening is those failures are not just in the north end, they are all over the county, but predominantly you see them in Lexington Park and you see them in the north end. The reason the north end is you're getting that alert is because you have them coming in from Charles County to assist. In the south end, it is getting the assist from the other rescue squads. That's why that alert's not coming out. Because if it stays within the county, that doesn't come out into the text message. That's why. But we are getting quite a bit more than we are in the north end in the Lexington Park area. There simply is not the coverage to do it. There are many, many times when it's just uncovered. The volunteers are trying, they just can't do it. They just don't have enough staff to do it. We're only allowed to put in the staff where they allow us to. So we've approached, we said, we think you need more, and they're trying their darndest to get the staff to do it. They just haven't been able to do it, so it is still occurring. We are again approaching where we were last year, where we just are having a very increasingly difficult time. We just don't have the people to do it. We're doing our best, we're scrambling, we're getting there, but it is very, very challenging right now to try to maintain coverage in the county for very, very difficult.
well, we need an alternative solution, because regardless of what they're doing.
It is that, and we're building the budget for next year to try to cover this. I mean, you know, this house, I mean, I can't throw an expense for a house, but I know there's a lot of expenses that I'm going to be coming to you for next budget year, because if we're going to make this system work, I've gotten to the point where I describe, when you consider the volunteers, right, they change, ebb and flow. Sure. They ebb and flow. They're staffing. They go up, they go down. They go up and they go down. And when they're up, they do great. But right now, they can't get to that point. And what we need to build is this level of stability. Now, right now, we're not quite there. We're better. But we need to build this level of stability that is regardless of what they do. And does that mean control? You ask me all the time. Absolutely not.
but it needs to be something that was discussed a while back, some type of a parallel system that we will support our community and our residents that needs the support when the volunteers are going through their ebbs and flows. And it is what it is. I hope they get back there. I have my doubts just based on the last year's history, but I hope they do. And they're trying, but we're just not.
So do
there.
we need to look at more hires?
We
Is that what
do.
you're saying?
We do.
Okay.
We're trying to make it through to the budget.
Right.
And we are building that right now. We absolutely do. We absolutely are going
We
to
have to let
need.
these departments know that we can't stand for this much longer. They're going to have to accept the hires.
I mean, you can
I know they don't
staff
want
another ambulance. I mean, what is stopping you from staffing another ambulance now and fixing the dispatch protocols that stay within county? Because if Hollywood's there, we go from, and so people understand, we go from Mechanicsville straight outside of the county. I mean, we do not dispatch in the county. So if Hollywood's available, we're not dispatching them. So for most cases, I'm speaking very blanketly, but we need to fix that. And then, if they're saying we don't want it and they're not meeting the coverage, they as in the system, okay, I'm speaking holistically here, we need to go ahead and fix that portion of the system.
So to do that, to take and do exactly what you're requesting is, I need a place for our providers to be. That means a bunkhouse for them to stay when they're working, and I need vehicles. And the vehicles, our ambulance is used far more than we ever expected for backfill coverage, right? We use it for the vaccination sites. We simply don't have it. They control the ambulances, they are theirs. They control the buildings, they are theirs. So without that, where do we put our people? That was part of the intent of this house, was to give us that independent ability to place people there. That location would have been great. We can service 2 different areas. The expense is too great, so we just can't look at that. If you're going to do that, build a building, and that's going to take, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
So it is, we need more staff, absolutely more. Can we afford it? Not at this time. Billing, it is very slow. The final thing that's holding us is Medicare. There's a whole process that goes through. We're still probably 2-3 weeks away to get that. And there are other insurance companies that we can't put into the system until that has been done. I wish I could explain it better, but I can't, but that is the way the system is. Dr. Bridget was on the line with us the other day talking through this. Medicare is closer. They've come out and done a site visit for us. So we're getting there, but it's slow. How much? We probably collected 10,000. How much have we billed? Probably 700,000.
Okay, let me talk about something that's available right now, and I have not discussed with you, but the Veterans Home, all right, Charlotte Hall Veterans Home, I know some of the calls are going there. However, there is $200,000 that is available at the state to purchase an ambulance. The state is having a hard time administering that. So Senator Bailey is more than happy to coordinate us locally administering the process to get that ambulance, to fill it, and then it will not only just be a part of the Veterans Home, but it'll also help the further process. So if you could please reach out to whoever your counterpart is up at the Veterans Home to figure out how to get that funding, how do we do the procurement process, how do we facilitate this down in the county, and this way we have $200,000 towards an ambulance that we can work with the Veterans Home and facilitate an assistance in a first due. So sounds easier than or more complicated than I put it, but either way, it's an option.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioners, on emergency services? Next, we go to the Sheriff's Department.
Mine will be easier, Commissioners, I promise you.
$18,000?
We currently have a license plate reader program in the Sheriff's Office. I mean, it's not as robust as we would like it to be. Each year, budget work sessions, as we come here and speak to you guys, we have to make cuts, and unfortunately, that continues to get cut. When we look at grants, we also find that there isn't enough money in some of the grants that come down the pike to us to fulfill this obligation that we're here before you today. This will enhance our program. I think most of you know And by all means, if you don't, come see me later for security purposes, but what a license plate reader program does for us. And it is very beneficial to the community and the sheriff's office, commissioners, to support a program like this, which identifies criminal activity for us and helps us connect the dots a lot better.
Major American, tell me, if you could, 30 seconds or less, or a minute or less, what are the safety, I mean, when you, I don't know enough about it, so this is totally, I'm asking for your help. When you have a license plate reader program, are you reading every license plate that comes into the county?
Yes, let's say, well, let's use a car, for example, the license plate readers we have in our current program. And you see a deputy that has a car. You don't know whether or not that deputy has a license plate reader, but it will see, like, Commissioner Hewitt coming down the road. It'll tell us whether it's, you know, who the owner of the vehicle is, whether the vehicle's wanted, or better yet, how we connect the dots with criminal activity with those
So you can find maybe like stolen cars or cars that are involved in some kind of an incident that's been reported?
Yes.
That type of thing? Okay, all right, thank you.
I understand the concept behind the license plate reader. So for 11 years, I've sat here and talked about traffic enforcement and what we're going to do about it. And we haven't gotten very far, as you're probably well aware, and there's some memos been sitting over on the sheriff's desk for a couple of years, maybe 3. So I'm assuming, or I guess, this has nothing to do with my traffic safety issues at all, does it?
It does not.
Thank you. I got one more year to try, so I know I'm not going to get far, but I'm going to keep trying. People's safety is important to me, as much as your license plate readers and rows are important to you to track criminal activity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Commissioners?
All right. And they said this would be a 23?
Yes, 23 has funding.
Okay. I think that you've been after this for several years. This is a prime opportunity. Thanks for getting it over, Captain. Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Major Murakami before he leaves? Anybody? Thank you, sir, for your service and your time.
Thank you, fellas. Take care now.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm done, unless you have
Okay.
any other questions or motions.
Any more questions or anything here?
It's been a jovial session.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Commissioners. And last county administrator item is from the Department of Economic Development with the resolution for the administration of the accommodation tax. Kelly Hinkle, Deputy Director, Department of Economic Development, is presenting this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Kelly Hinkle, Department of Economic Development. Joining me at the table this morning is Barbara Zapata with Visit St. Mary's.
Yes, how are you doing?
The resolution before you this morning is to require third-party platforms, hosting platforms like Airbnb and VRBO, to collect and remit accommodation taxes to St. Mary's County, and to annually submit a report that has point of contact information for host properties operating in the county. The Department of Economic Development, in conjunction with the Department of Finance and the County Attorney's Office, over the last year has been communicating with the largest 2 short-term rental platforms operating in the county. Airbnb has been amenable and has provided information to hosts operating in the county that they are required to collect and remit the taxes. VRBO was less amenable. They informed us when they improved their platform requirements, they would start communicating with hosts. They have now done that, and the way that they have improved their platform is to plug in a third party that hosts can elect to pay to collect and remit taxes to the county. In fiscal year 20, when we started communicating and tracking short-term rental occupancy tax remittance, we had 6 short-term rentals that were remitting taxes to the county. In FY21, we have 13 that are remitting to the county. So that is an improvement.
More than doubled.
But
Pretty good.
but the estimate is that there are 150 properties operating in the county and renting properties. property. So it's slow going when we are not able to directly communicate with the host properties. There has been a precedent set in Maryland by other jurisdictions that a change in local ordinance or by resolution, they are requiring those platforms to collect and remit on behalf of the host properties, and this is what specifically Airbnb has said they would require in order to collect and remit on behalf of the host properties. So the resolution before you today is to start requiring those platforms to collect and remit on the host's behalf. Happy to answer any questions.
I think this is a long time coming.
Oof, yeah.
I mean, we've listened to this go on for years here, I'll say years. It's time we even the playing field, that the hotels, the Airbnbs, the VRBOs pay their fair share to help visit St. Mary's and everything else that goes on in the county. So I'll make the motion to approve the resolution to establish regulations to provide for the administration of the accommodation tax and authorize the commissioner present to sign any related documents.
Second. Discussion. Ms. Hinkle, tell me, so when somebody wants to rent their home as an Airbnb, VRBO, whatever.
VRBO.
Okay, so they list it with this group so they know that it's available, so they'll know when it's going to be rented.
Correct. The hosts in the county are using the platforms to list their properties.
So that platform does have a responsibility to the municipality to say, this place has been rented on our platform. Is that true?
Well, they do not right now have the legal responsibility to let us know.
Really?
Or to collect and remit the taxes.
This will
the
make it legal.
responsibility.
I get you. This will help.
Responsibility lands with the owner of the host property.
Okay.
Currently.
Well, again, I guess my point gets to be is, how do we know they'll pay? How do we know if someone says, I got this, Airbnb reserved, what about repeat people? Once they identify the property and they want to just say, hey, look, I'm coming back next year at the same time. Does that have to go through Airbnb?
It doesn't have to. Some of the host properties have their own platform on their own website.
Yeah.
There are bed and breakfasts in the county that are using VRBO and Airbnb, but also have a rental system within their own.
Would this legislation or this idea here, this resolution, require them to?
Yes, it would require, and it would require the platform.
Just a minute. We got our lawyers coming up there now.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
David Weiskopf, County Attorney. My understanding of Chapter 267 of the Public Local Law, we've always exempted bed and breakfasts, and there's another word. But they're currently exempt from the taxation. That would be if, because.
Why wouldn't we want to include them in the accommodation tax?
Prior board did not want to. The state law gives the county commissioners the ability to apply the accommodations tax to bed and breakfasts or not.
But I mean, is that fair to hotels that have to collect it versus bed and breakfasts, which provide the same thing, accommodations for overnight stay, not to collect it?
It's something my office can look into and give you guys a memo on if you're interested.
This doesn't seem fair to everybody involved.
I think all those who rent out should pay.
Yes, I agree.
I really agree with that.
Okay, we'll look into it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, one thing more on the VRBO. I have a rental property in North Carolina that I've had under VRBO and HomeAway.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, as soon as I listed it, they told me I had to pay taxes in North Carolina and a municipality and everything at that time, which I collected easily, no problem. And they handled everything. I haven't touched it. They distribute it, and they just give me a document at the end of the year how much was distributed to the state, county, and the municipality. So I'm thinking they could do the same thing here. I don't understand why you're getting hesitation from them on that, because they do it everywhere else. I don't know why.
I would make the assumption that either the state or the locality where you're located has this either resolution or legislation.
Yeah, so I think this resolution will solve most of that problem. And we need to send it to all of these rental people, HomeAway, VRBO, Airbnb, to make sure they are.
Right. Some of the commissioners made a implication in the past that it was the property owners that were trying to avoid this tax, but I think it really comes down to it's the platform and this larger company, VRBO or Airbnb. And so once we do this takes care of the problem. I don't think any of our property owners in the county are really opposed to this because it doesn't impact them.
But I think the hurdle is communicating that
Right.
they're responsible.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have direct contact with them. This will give us direct contact. This is requiring them to give us a point of contact and their permanent mailing address. Visit St. Mary's can then communicate directly for collaboration, marketing, promotion.
Right.
We can't do that now. I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. I agree with that, Ms. Hinkle and Ms. Zapato. I would say reach out to groups, say as the Chamber of Commerce, say Rotary groups, any groups that are involved somewhat in business relation, and inform them of this. I was at a recent Rotary meeting, it was virtual, where someone said, hey, I wanted to come to St. Mary's County and I didn't know what to do. And then someone said, well, Commissioner Hewitt, don't you guys used to have something where people could look and find out what's to do in the county? I said, well, I think we got Visit St. Mary's now.
Yes.
So, again, I guess it's about, awareness.
Yeah.
So with this Airbnbs or VBROs and whatever these are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's been the strategy since I got here, is that we want to become that information hub again for the entire county. We think we can provide a lot of services to these private accommodation renters, these hosts. And most of the hosts that I talk to are very much in favor of this because it evens the playing field for them. If you're comparing other locations, everybody's got an accommodation tax, but if you look at two houses next to each other, one looks like it's 5% higher because they're the good actor right now who have figured out how to do this with no support from these platforms. So this move is going to be transformational because now the platforms will be required to create that even playing field for all of
I
our
will
hosts.
say also, there's no problem collecting this. I have not had one renter in 7 years complain about the tax.
But the other thing, though, is we have to make sure, we continue to hear from this one constituent out in Leonardtown who complains about a Airbnb or whatever is going on next door to her that has a failing septic system. Something doesn't make sense that you have that type of an activity with a failing septic system. So I guess these groups, whether it be Rotary or Chamber of Commerce, they're always looking for speakers. And I think it would be an ideal way for us to, or for you or through us, to get the message out. So maybe might have some people look you up, as they say.
Yes, please do. You've met me already. I'm always ready to talk, so.
And you've done a great job so far. Thank you for
thank
taking
you.
the job
I
on.
appreciate
Thank you. Any other discussion, Commissioners? I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you all very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, and this completes County Administrator time.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, we did very well. Okay, we'll go right into Commissioners' time, and we'll start with Commissioner Hewitt this time.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Well, first thing I want to say is that I want to apologize if I've offended anybody by saying they don't support fire departments. The thing is, all these commissioners do. Honestly, I want to say I'm passionate about it. So sometimes when I see things like protective gear or breathing apparatus or things like that not funded, it makes me want to say, well, I need to fight for that. But there's a way to do it, and I didn't do it appropriately, so I apologize. Now, what we talked about recently was public forums. Tonight, there's one for a public hearing for this amendment we want to do for TAP. There's also the delegation one, joint meeting tonight. I'll be missing those. I'll be out of town, as I will be for the October 19th, so I apologize for not being able to make that. But what I would like to say is, at the State of the County luncheon a few weeks back, one of the questions was, why does it take 3 years to get a building permit? And what I thought, sitting at my end of the table there, was, if it takes 3 years to get a building permit, you need to call your county commissioner. I've had the distinct pleasure of working with the Dotsons down in Tall Timbers on getting their house elevated and working with FEMA. It was a process. It took 3 years. But it was a process, and it involved FEMA and it involved critical areas, a lot of moving parts. But as a commissioner, I always believe it's my job to roll my sleeves up and get out there and figure out those moving parts and get them to work together. Also, I remember people out there in St. Clement Shores, Chadwicks, Steve and Melanie Chadwick. when I got elected 6 years ago, how many years ago it was, they talked about how they couldn't get hook up to water and sewer, and that they had 3 children, and that they didn't need to hook up to water, they needed sewer. Point is that, again, they had been waiting several years for that to happen. But, again, we worked with the appropriate agencies, Maryland Department of the Environment, and we've made a lot of headway in St. Clements Island. It's a good way to improve the quality of life for people who just take flushing their toilets, taking a shower for granted, versus those who have to risk, well, my toilet might back up, or has it rained in the last couple of days? It's something that, honestly, if you're having trouble with government agencies, no matter who it is, but we continually talk about permits, you reach out to your commissioner and say, and don't just say, hey, look, everybody's unreasonable, it doesn't work. Be specific, because there's engineers involved, there's surveyors involved, there's a lot of moving parts. But when you're not getting service from county government, reach out to your commissioner. Attended the Osprey Gala, it was a very nice affair last Friday night. Blessing of the Fleet, another great event. Did that on Sunday. Parade, it was a great time. Overall, we've had beautiful weather in southern Maryland, and I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you.
Eric.
All right. What an exciting meeting today. So I want to, we'll start off by thanking Commissioner Hewitt for his apology. I was offended when he implied that I don't support fire departments. My grandfather was a life member at Valley Lee Fire Department and Rescue Squad. I know a little bit about what our volunteers go through, and I have always supported and will continue to support. So I did not appreciate the implication. I'm glad he was a big enough man to apologize for that, because that's the right thing to do. This whole board supports fire departments and our rescue squads, and we do want what's best for our citizens in this county. It was a beautiful weekend. The Blessing of the Fleet is always a great time. It was wonderful to be at the parade. They put in a lot of work for that Blessing of the Fleet every year. So thank you to all the people who've been involved with that. And also I got a chance to go out to the Southern Maryland Boat Club's Vintage Race Boat Regatta. If you haven't had a chance to go watch them, next year when they put on another one, you need to go, because it is fun. It is incredible watching those boats, and it's just a really great event. With that, I'm going to end for the day. Have a great week, everyone.
John?
So apparently I was at the regatta because of you being there, because I still had my beard, and they thought I was you.
Huh?
Yeah, I have no clue. I got multiple calls, to include one of our department heads that was told that I was there.
Oh, my.
So it used to be Commissioner Jarbo that everybody thought I was there. So I had to shave my beard. That was it. This way we're not getting confused. So the only thing I want to talk about is the wonderful letters that we've received. It's like a cycle of feral cats. So animal control, just to clarify some things in addition, all right, I know that this is always a passionate issue with everyone. Very, very passionate. Sometimes more than human lives when it comes to animals, and I respect that even as an animal lover myself. However, what I will say is our animal control is not trapping these animals to put a needle in them to kill them, as being stated by many people. There are solutions. We've worked with the Animal Control Board. We've worked with all of these organizations that want to pen letters that are passionately and written with a very, very nice flair of drama. And I thank you for acknowledging that drama in one of your posts. However, we have plenty of things to consider when it comes to safety. And one, it's human safety along the paths, in the parks, children. Biggest thing aside from that is the buzzards, the vultures that we've been working for years to keep out of the flight path of our multi-million-dollar aircraft at Pax River, with the human being that's sitting in the aircraft that's taking off at 350, 400 knots, flying over Great Mills, which we don't want a bird strike, so it crashes. So with that being said, there is a balance that has to happen. The vultures are eating the cat food that you're throwing out. It is a not complex issue, but it can be easily solved. So what I ask is, rather than running around telling people we're killing cats, is to contact our Department of Emergency Services and find out the solutions we can have, just like we had the solutions of trapping the alligator and relocating it to Florida. There's solutions, but this isn't the way to get a solution. So please reach out to them. They're not trying to euthanize the animals. They're trying to find solutions that works for everybody, and that's what that team over there is about, and our Parks and Rec is about. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to working through that problem. So Blessing the Fleet was amazing, and the gala was amazing, and I thank the Optimist for putting that on. I thank the 100, and let me tell you, the island looked amazing. Elizabeth went over there for the first time ever, and she's worked in the county, been in the county for forever, and got to bring my son. So it was pretty cool. He couldn't ring the bell because of the way they got it set up, but he did go to the top of the lighthouse, and he enjoyed that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So following on Commissioner O'Connor, yeah, we're getting a lot of phone calls and emails about the feral cats. The vultures, turkey vultures, are an endangered species. I've been working closely with the base on this because we used to have a USDA inspector over there who worked with the neighbors in the community relative to the turkey vultures. The base has been out to visit Millicent Square because not only are the turkey vultures sitting in the trees, but they're starting to rip up all the roofs again. And obviously the owners of the plaza and the other business owners are starting to get leaks and concerns, are very concerned what's going to go happening. So turkey vultures, the base has been out there Saturday, and the base was out there yesterday. I've been in contact with them every day. And it is not a problem of the restaurants and fast food stores leaving their dumpsters open. They're closed. It's the food that's being fed to the feral cats that is attracting the vultures. Now, this may be a migratory pack of vultures, or it could be something coming that we haven't seen in a while because we had this under control. So as Commissioner O'Connor said, we're working closely to solve this problem. But as other people said, there is a liability. And the liability is we have to protect our citizens at the same time watching out for the feral cats. And, like I said, as Commissioner O'Connor says, we'll work with emergency services, going to work with the base to, do what we can to protect all interests of everybody at the end of the day. So I just wanted to chime in there on where that was coming from. The Blessing of the Fleet, great event. Osprey Gala, great event. I think everybody had a good time. Saturday, the Boy Scouts had a Dutch oven cooking contest, which Commissioner Colvin went and judged because I couldn't make it that day.
Phenomenal.
If you haven't seen, it was pretty interesting. I've been doing Boy Scouts, I think, as most people know, for probably 50 years, and Dutch oven's an exclusive art to cook. And they had 5 troops, maybe 6 groups there. They had contests. They had 3 judges. It was a really cool event. I'm sorry more people didn't show up for it, but if you never cooked in a Dutch oven before, it's an art to itself, much like cooking with a green egg. So with that, to the Boy Scouts who were there and doing that, congratulations on a job well done. And with that, I just want everybody to have a nice, safe time out there, and let's all keep our cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, very much. Yeah, see, I got to admit that the letters I've gotten about the feral cats, I'm sorry to hear everybody thinks we're getting rid of them, but we're really not. We're just trying to get the distribution properly so we can stop all this vulture control. We're building our new, at this, I like to call it Animal Adoption Center right now on FDR Boulevard. It's moving along great. We have established it to a, right now we call it a low kill / no kill. We don't want to kill anything. And hopefully after we establish this, we'll be able to distribute animals wherever they need it, or adoption within our own county, since we'll be close in now rather than going away to Hughesville. So this will make a big difference once we get this open, of how we take care of our domesticated animals especially. And with that said, please understand why we're not trying to kill anything. Believe me, we're not. No way. We're just trying to make sure we keep our flyway open. Okay, Sunday, I went to the Blessed of Fleet for the parade, very nice. And my wife and I went over to the island for the 3 o'clock Catholic Mass in front of the big cross. It was well attended, and I prayed for all the commissioners and our county administrator.
Thank you.
And our communication director, to everybody. I mean, it was a great event. It was really a blessing to be out there on that island for a Catholic Mass. It was well done. So with that said, I need to get a motion to enter into closed session.
I move to enter into closed session to discuss personnel and real property.
Second.
Have first and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We're going to have